Hitler capitalized on economic distress and nationalist sentiments to ascend to power and institute a totalitarian regime in Germany. Stalin ascended to power in the Soviet Union by outmaneuvering rivals after Lenin's death in 1924. Hirohito rose to power in Japan as emperor in 1926, inheriting a nation undergoing rapid modernization and militarization. In this video, we delve into the turbulent era of the 20th century, a time marked by the rise of three formidable figures whose names still echo through history's corridors: Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler, and Michinomiya Hirohito. Hirohito was born in Tokyo during the Meiji period as the son of the reigning emperor. His father took the throne in 1912. In 1921, Hirohito became the first Japanese crown prince to visit Europe. He got married in 1924 and ascended to the throne in 1926, following a period as regent for his father. Hirohito spent his early years in the care of first a retired vice admiral and then an imperial attendant. From age 7 to 19, Hirohito attended schools set up for the children of nobility. He received rigorous instruction in military and religious matters, along with other subjects such as math and physics. In 1921, Hirohito and a 34-man entourage traveled to Western Europe for a 6-month tour. It was the first time a Japanese crown prince had ever gone abroad. Upon his return to Japan, Hirohito became regent for his chronically ill father and assumed the duties of emperor. Rampaging Japanese mobs subsequently murdered several thousand ethnic Koreans and leftists, who were accused of setting fires and looting in the quake's aftermath. Hirohito officially became emperor when his father died in December 1926. He chose Showa, which roughly translates to enlightened harmony, as his reign name. When Hirohito ascended the throne, the law of universal male suffrage had just been passed and the power of the party was close to its pre-war heyday. As emperor, Hirohito was the country's highest spiritual authority and commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and in 1929 he essentially fired the prime minister. The next prime minister was shot and seriously wounded. The political parties were completely disbanded in 1940, leading to the rise of Japanese militarism. In September 1940, Japan signed the Tripartite Pact with Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy, in which they agreed to assist one another should any of them be attacked by a country not already involved in the war. A little over a year later, Hirohito consented to the decision of his government to battle the Americans. On December 7, 1941, Japanese planes bombarded the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor near Honolulu, Hawaii, destroying or crippling 18 ships and killing almost 2,500 men. The United States declared war one day later. But the tide started turning at the June 1942 Battle of Midway and soon after at Guadalcanal. By mid-1944, Japan's military leaders recognized that victory was unlikely, yet the country did not stop fighting until after atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki the following August. On August 15, 1945, Hirohito made a radio broadcast announcing Japan's surrender. After the war, Hirohito, unlike many among his top military brass, Hirohito was not indicted as a war criminal, in part because U.S. authorities feared it could throw their occupation into chaos. From 1945 to 1951, Hirohito toured the country and oversaw reconstruction efforts. He died on January 7, 1989, having spent nearly 64 years on the throne, the longest imperial reign in Japanese history. After being discharged from the hospital amidst the social chaos following Germany's defeat in World War I, Hitler began his political activities in Munich in May-June 1919. As an army political agent, he joined the small German Workers' Party in September 1919. By 1920, he was in charge of the party's propaganda, and later that year, it was renamed the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or the Nazi Party. He left the army to focus on his political ambitions, capitalizing on the widespread resentment over Germany's war loss, harsh peace terms, and economic struggles, especially acute in Bavaria. Munich became a hub for disaffected ex-servicemen, Free Corps members, and anti-Republican plotters, many of whom joined the Nazi Party. Ernst Röhm, an early member, was instrumental in organizing the SA, a paramilitary group to protect party meetings and attack opponents. Rome secured the Bavarian government's tacit support, enabling the SA's violent tactics. Hitler's adept use of propaganda and his ambition created friction within the party. By threatening to resign, he overcame internal opposition and became the party leader with almost unlimited powers in July 1921. He focused on building a mass movement through relentless propaganda via the party newspaper, Völkischer Beobachter, and large rallies. His dynamic leadership attracted key figures like Dietrich Eckart, Alfred Rosenberg, Rudolf Hess, Hermann Göring, and Julius Streicher. The Nazi Party's rapid growth culminated in the failed Munich Beer Hall Putsch of November 1923, where Hitler and General Erich Ludendorff attempted to overthrow the Weimar Republic. The putsch failed, resulting in several deaths and Hitler's arrest. He used his trial for treason to gain publicity and realized the need to achieve power through legal means. Sentenced to 5 years in prison, he served only 9 months, during which he dictated Mein Kampf, outlining his ideology of Aryan supremacy and anti-Semitism. After his release, the Nazi Party faced new challenges. Germany's economic stabilization and political recovery in the mid-1920s made Hitler's rise more difficult. Banned from public speaking in many German states, he nevertheless consolidated his control within the party, particularly against rival Gregor Strasser. The onset of the Great Depression in 1929 reignited political instability, allowing Hitler to gain a national audience through an alliance with nationalist Alfred Hugenberg and financial support from industrialists. The Nazi Party's propaganda, combined with the government's failure to address economic woes, increased its electoral success. Engaging in political machinations with conservatives like Franz von Papen, Otto Meissner, and President Hindenburg's son, Oskar, Hitler capitalized on the fear of communism and the rejection of the Social Democrats. Despite a temporary decline in votes in late 1932, Hitler's insistence on the chancellorship paid off, and on January 30, 1933, Hindenburg appointed him Chancellor of Germany, marking the beginning of Nazi rule. Joseph Stalin was born on December 18, 1879, in Gori, Georgia, grows up in poverty with a washerwoman mother and a cobbler father. Joseph got smallpox at the age of 7, which led him to be disfigured. He was bullied by his friends and abused by his alcoholic father. He is influenced by Georgia's romantic folklore and anti-Russian sentiments. In 1895, Joseph's mother sent him to Tiflis to become a priest. He rebels, reads the secret writing of Karl Marx, joins a Russian monarchy, becomes an atheist, and is expelled from the seminary in 1899 for missing exams. As a clerk, Joseph organized strikes and protests which caught the attention of the Tsarist secret police. He later joins the Bolshevik Party and impresses Lenin, the leader of the Bolshevik Party. In 1907, he funded the revolution by stealing 250,000 rubles, or approximately $3.4 million in a bank robbery. Joseph married Ketevan-Svanidze in 1906, and they have a son. After his wife died in 1907, he adopted the name Stalin, meaning steel. He was repeatedly arrested numerous times and exiled to Siberia by 1910. Stalin helped run the Bolshevik newspaper Pravda and aided Lenin's escape. When the Tsar toppled, the country descended into civil war. Stalin, like other hardliners within the party, orders the public execution of deserters and renegades. Stalin became General Secretary of the Communist Party after Lenin took power. After Lenin's death, Stalin ruthlessly positions himself as Lenin's successor. Many in the party anticipate Red Army leader Leon Trotsky to be Lenin's natural successor, but most of the Communist Party find his ideas too idealistic. Exiling Trotsky and becoming dictator by the late 1920s with his socialism in one country policy. In the late 1920s, Stalin initiated a sequence of 5-year plans aimed at transforming the Soviet Union into a modern industrialized nation. He increased a huge production of coal, oil, and steel. This led the country to see massive economic growth. His plans are ruthlessly enforced. Factories are assigned demanding targets that many workers struggle to meet. Stalin modernized agriculture and farming by making all the farms state-owned. Stalin's collectivization policy faces resistance, causing famines that kill around 5 million. Despite opposition, Stalin deems the policy necessary, leading to widespread imprisonment and deaths. Farming was fully collectivized and productivity increased by late 1930. Stalin purged the Communist Party and military, resulting in many executions and millions sent to labor camps. Stalin's second wife, Nadezhda, committed suicide in 1932. His son Yakov, captured by the Germans, died in a concentration camp in 1943 after Stalin refused a prisoner swap. Stalin signed a non-aggression pact with Hitler, in which they agreed to carve up Eastern Europe. Unprepared for the Nazi blitzkrieg in 1941, which tears through Poland and into the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union suffers significant losses. The Battle of Stalingrad became a turning point where Soviet forces pushed back the Nazis, eventually reaching Berlin. Stalin occupied Eastern Europe, leading to a division with former allies and the start of the Cold War with the Soviet Union's first atomic bomb test in 1949. After a night of heavy drinking, Stalin dies from a stroke on March 5, 1953. While some mourn his leadership, many celebrate the end of his brutal regime. Khrushchev initiates de-Stalinization, denouncing Stalin's policies.